Bilal Muhammad, as what, a 2-1 favorite or whatever it may be. You sort of was the opposite. He's been an underdog. Valentina plus 130 this morning, Cody says. That surprises me. I have a lot of respect for Manon Fior. But, you recall, even when Alexander Volkanovski fought Ilia Topuria, I can't tell you how many people said, oh, Volk at minus 115. How do you not play Volk at minus 115? So I do always say, and it's a cliche, but Vegas knows what they're talking about. There's a reason why Manon Fior is designated as the favorite. And we already started with the UFC, so let's get right into it. We're talking about gambling. I'm going to talk to you about some happiness hedging, right? Because I need some advice.
I love this.
And I have a little cold from last week, so forgive me if I sound a little nasal, right? So I texted Gresh this weekend, right? And Cody was part of the text, but Cody knows about all of this from years of sort of knowing what my brother John and I do. So whether you call it emotional hedge, happiness hedge, whatever else it may be, my brother John and I, all our lives have been betting against Boston teams so that as a way to sort of take down the team they're playing against. So for example, Boston Celtics, New York Knicks coming up in this series. My brother and I have a lot of action on the New York Knicks, not necessarily because we like the Knicks in the series, but as a way to take down the Knicks. And if the Celtics throw up all over themselves, we'll get paid. So I just want to read you, and I will transition this back to the UFC.
I love this. This is gold.
So I texted Gresh my Knicks action, right? A bunch of different bets that I have, right? On the Knicks, right? So, and this is what I said to him, right? So I said, all right, here we go. Gresh, this is what we do. Trying to take down the Knicks. Willing to pay for the C's to advance. I know you kind of love it. Right. And then I write, if C's win game 1, we reinvest with the Knicks with better odds. And Gresh is like fucking wild, And I'm like, sorry for blowing up your phone. He's like, I'm fascinated. But this is the one text that I want to just read you for you folks. So we've been doing this for 25 years. And this is a quote. I said, you can thank me and John for some of those chips. I'll die believing we've had an impact. And you can laugh all you want, right? So when the Falcons were up 28-3 in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, John placed a $500 bet on the Falcons. Who knows? Minus 10,000, whatever. 500 to pay $7. Meaning, okay, if a Patriots are going to come back and I lose $500, so be it. So this is my long-winded way of, and we'll get back to the Knicks Celtics and all the action there. But gosh, man, in order to solidify this win for Bilal Muhammad, I'm really considering going and doing a happiness hedge and placing a little bet on Jack. Do that against Leon Edwards. I probably won't do that just out of principle because Bilal don't want me doing any of that. So anyway, I've been rambling. Your thoughts on all of that?
No, I think where I would draw the line is the Bilal piece of it because it's like you're flying too close to the sun on that one. At least it feels like it, right? Like that's the one where you're like, okay, I don't know if I really need to do that because a lot of what you're talking about though is the superstition of being a big time Boston sports fan. Like at the end of the day, that's really what the concept you rolled out is just rooted in, that you want your home team to win so bad. You think you're putting the Maluki on the other side by betting on them. It's so not nuts.
You're right. And what's interesting, right, is, my mom is superstitious with the Celtics beanbag or whatever it is. And it's really not like a financial thing, right? Like, no. I don't really bet on MMA. So I sort of was trying to tie it in there. And you're right, though. And Cody was commenting like bad karma, right? Like, I ain't going to mess with that. But it really is interesting when you think about sort of, opportunities to win money, right? Like for me, I'm really confident in the Boston Celtics. But I am happy to pay money to not have the New York Knicks emerge victorious out of that series. And let's actually go there, Gresh, because Knicks, they sort of threw up over themselves a little bit losing game 5, but they go on the road, game 6, win at Detroit, punch their ticket to this series against Boston. Certainly the Celtics handled them during the regular season, won all 4 games. The last game they played was, I believe, a double overtime game. KP went off, but in that game, it was, that game was interesting, right? Knicks dominated. I think they had 14 or 15 rebound advantage. They had 60 points in the paint. I know you're supremely confident in the Boston Celtics, but just sort of your general thoughts about this New York-Boston matchup in round 2.
Yeah, I just don't think New York has enough to be able to deal with everything that the Celtics are going to throw at them. And, I know that Holiday has been dinged up. You would like to have him back in a series like this, considering you have a couple of dogs at guard in New York in terms of Hart and Brunson. But at the end of the day, Jay, I think you kind of nailed it. In the inside, in the paint, like this will be a series, I think, that will require Jason Tatum to play a little differently. he's going to need to be a stronger presence on the glass. They're going to need him underneath a little bit more, even though KP and Al can kind of handle it. And I'm not saying that Tatum's got to turn into back to the basket, drop step layup like Karl Malone. I'm not going crazy like that, but it's going to require him to be a part of the rebounding group to make sure that they win and win big. So I don't know if this series for Tatum, Jay, is as much about go out and score 30 points a game as it is be a complete player, help us underneath. The one thing the Celtics have, in theory, is plenty of scoring. So if it gets high scoring, Knicks aren't going to keep up. You want to play defense, Knicks don't have enough talent. I just think this is, at worst, a 6-game series. And for me, Jay, the bigger issue that I have with the C's is themselves staying healthy and being right than it is anything that the Knicks can throw to them in this series. And I hope I don't sound like a honk. I feel like I'm going to be right by saying Celtics in 5.
Well, Drew Holiday appears to be healthy. The whole squad appears to be healthy. Certainly, they've had some time off here to get ready for the Knicks. I am confident, right, in this line, right? Celtics minus 800 in the series. Knicks coming back at plus 500. It is interesting. I think there's some value on the Knicks plus 2.5 games at plus 105 potentially. You talk about worst case 6, but I will say, right, there is going to be the Knicks to a certain extent playing here with house money, being this big of an underdog in this spot. And so I think maybe a little bit of that can be advantage. You see Cleveland lose game 1 against Indiana, and Darius Garland didn't play. And you talk about injuries, right? He's missed the last 3 games, I think sprained toe or whatever it is, but certainly he's an important piece. I have a ticket sitting in this drawer for the Indiana Pacers, 42-1 to win the Eastern Conference, right? Which is an absurd value. I'm not sure it's coming through, but I think health really will be a big part. Hard for me to imagine the Celtics not getting through this series if they are healthy. But,
well, Jay, just quickly from the gambling standpoint, even though we are Boston, that's an unbelievable play. 42-1 on a team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year and could get there this year.